Welcome back. I'm Tahira Telefero, and you're watching King's Chronicles. And we are reading the Bible in the chronological order of historical events using the complete Jewish Bible. And I chose that version of the Bible because I feel like the people of God are the Jewish people, and the Jewish Bible will give us more of that true um, to the culture of the Jewish people, right? And their history. And to me, so I wanted to read something that is the closest to the Jewish history as we could possibly get, and that I could possibly get without actually reading in Hebrew, in Arabic, and Aramaic. So a lot of these words are in Hebrew and they're translated into English. And the ones that are not, I look up and I translate them into English for you. And we also do a dive deeper where we go over the scriptures that we just read in another video. So I try to use this video to just stick with just reading the scriptures so that if you're driving to work or you're on the road, you just want to hear the Bible read. Um, that's what this is for. Or if you're just sitting down and you just want to listen to the Bible being read to you, that's what this is for. Okay. So it's a little bit more personable than, maybe just a robotic voice reading the Bible to you. So let's get to it. We are now in the book of Job, which in the Hebrew language is pronounced Iyov. Iyov. Okay? So in Hebrew, Iyov is Job. And some people say Job because it's spelled like Job. But the biblical term is Job and the Hebrew term is Iyov. Okay? So now that we are in the book of Iyov, we're going to stay here for the remaining until we complete the book of Iyov. So I just want to introduce you to the Bible and the book of Iyov. Uh, Job's sudden, unexplained, and unmerited sufferings test his motivation for worshiping God and causes him to question God's justice and the rule of the world. Iyov's friends attempt to defend God, but they do so by offering faulty and simplistic explanations of God's dealings. So their theology is driven by the dogma of divine retribution, which teaches that God rewards the just with prosperity and punishes the wicked with calamity. But it is clear that Iyov's sufferings does not originate in specific sins, although divine retribution is a general principle of God's dealings. It does not explain all of them, and when not balanced by other operative truths or when taken to the extreme, it has led to erroneous representations of God's governance. Iyov's perception that is um, perception that he is suffering unjustly causes him to seek a confrontation with God. So God does respond to Iyov's challenge, but rather than Iyov's questioning God, God questions Iyov. And God's questions demonstrate that Iyov lacks knowledge, power, and concern to rule over various parts of God's creation. If Iyov, because of these deficiencies, is not qualified to rule over less sensitive parts of God's creation, how much more disqualified is he to ascertain how God should rule over humanity? All right. So, neither the narrative portions of the book nor the speeches of God reveal why God allows Satan to test Iyov, except to prove that Iyov would worship him even in the face of suffering. So God does respond to Iyov's challenge, but God's question But God's questions to Iyov imply that he prefers not to reveal all the reasons for suffering and that people would not be able to understand all the reasons if they were given. Yet God asserts that the presence of suffering in no way impinges upon his righteous and loving dealings with humanity, which sometimes includes severe suffering. It is perhaps in the tension of this unanswered question where faith is to function. So right now we're going to read Iyov, Job's book, the book of Job, chapters 1 through 5, which is the introduction of Iyov's life. All right. Um, so let's get to it. Chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Iyov. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 pairs of oxen, and 500 female donkeys, as well as a great number of servants, so that he was the wealthiest man in the East. It was the custom of his sons to give banquets, each on his set day in his own house, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. After a cycle of banquets, Iyov would send for them to come and be consecrated. Then he would get up early in the morning and offer burnt offerings for each of them. Because Iyov said, "My sons might have sinned and blasphemed God in their thoughts." This is what Iyov did every time. It happened one day that the sons of God came to serve Adonai, and among them came the adversary, Satan. Adonai asked the adversary, "Where are you coming from?" The adversary answered God, "From roaming around the earth, wandering here and there." Adonai asked the adversary, "Did you notice my servant Iyov? That there's no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and shuns evil?" And the adversary answered Adonai, "It is for nothing that Iyov fears God. You've put a protection hedge around him, his house and everything he has. You've prospered his work, and his livestock are spread all over the land. But if you reach out your hand and touch whatever he has, without doubt, he'll curse you to your face." That's what Satan said. Adonai said to the adversary, "Here, everything he has in your hands, except that you are not to lay a finger on his person." Then the adversary went out from the presence of Adonai. One day, when Iyov's sons and daughters were eating and drinking in their eldest brother's house, a messenger came to him and said, "The oxen were plowing with the donkeys grazing near them, when a raiding party from Shiva came and carried them off. They put the servants to the swords too, and I'm the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was speaking, one another came and said, "Fire from God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep and the servants. It completely destroyed them, and I'm the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another one came and said, "The Keshdam, 3 bands of them fell on the camels and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword too, and I'm the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another one came and said, "Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house, when suddenly a strong wind blew in from the desert. It struck the 4 corners of the house so that it fell on the young people. They are dead. And I'm the only one who escaped to tell you." Iyov got up, tore his coat, shaved his head, fell down on the ground, and worshipped. He said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return there. Adonai gave, Adonai took. Blessed be the name of Adonai." And all of this, Iyov neither committed a sin nor put blame on God. Chapter 2. Another day came Another day came when the sons of God came to serve Adonai, and among them came the adversary to serve Adonai. Adonai asked the adversary, "Where are you coming from?" The adversary answered Adonai, "From roaming through the earth, wandering here and there." Adonai asked the adversary, "Did you notice my servant Iyov, that there's no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and shuns evil? And that he still holds on to his integrity, even though you provoked me against him to destroy him for no reason." The adversary answered Adonai, "Skin for skin. A person will give up everything he has to save his life. But if you reach out your hand and touch his flesh and bone, without doubt, he will curse you to your face." Adonai said to the adversary, "Here, he is in your hands, except that you are to spare his life." Then the adversary went out from the presence of Adonai and struck Iyov down with horrible infected sores from the sole of his feet to the crown of his head. He took a piece of a broken pot to scratch himself and sat down in the pile of ashes. His wife asked him, "Why do you still hold on to your integrity? Curse God and die." But he answered her, "You're still You're talking like a low-class woman. Are we to receive the good at God's hand, but reject the bad?" In all this, Iyov did not say one sinful word. Now, when Iyov's 3 friends heard of all the calamities that had overwhelmed him, they all came. Each came from his own home. Eliphaz from Teman, Bildad from Shechem, and Tosphar from Namaha. They had agreed to meet together in order to come and offer him sympathy and comfort. When they saw him from a distance, they couldn't even recognize him. They wept aloud, tore their coats, and threw dust over their heads toward heaven. Then they sat down with him on the ground. For 7 days and 7 nights, no one spoke a word to him, because they saw how much he was suffering. At length, Iyov broke the silence and cursed the day of his birth. Chapter 3. Iyov said, "Perish the day I was born, and the night that said a man is conceived. May that day be darkness. May God on high not seek it. May no light shine on it. May gloom dark as death defile it. May clouds settle on it. May it be terrified by its own blackness. As for that night, may thick darkness seize it. May it not be joined to the days of the year. May it not be numbered among the months. May that night be desolate. May no cry of joy be heard in it. May those who curse days curse it. Those who see curses could rouse Leviathan. May the stars of its twilight be dark. May it look for light but not get none. May it be never see the shimmer of dawn. Because it didn't shut the doors of the womb I was in and shield my eyes from trouble. If I had been stillborn, if I had died at birth, had there been no knees to receive me or breasts for me to suck, then I would be lying still and in peace. I would have slept and been at rest, along with kings and their earthly advisers who rebuilt ruins for themselves, or with princes who had plenty of gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or I could have been like a hidden miscarried child that never saw light. There the wicked cease their raging. There the wicked cease their raging. There the weary are at rest. Prisoners live at peace together, without hearing a taskmaster's yell. Great and small alike are there, and the slave is free of his master. So, why must light be given to the miserable, and life to the bitter in spirit? They long for death, but it never comes. They search for it more than for buried treasure. Then at last they find the grave. They are so happy they shout for joy. Why give light to a man who wanders blindly, whom God shuts on every side? My sighing serves in place of my food, and my groans pour out in torrent, for the thing I feared has overwhelmed me. That I dreaded has happened to me. I have no peace, no quiet, no rest, and anguish keeps coming. Chapter 4. Then Eliphaz the Temani spoke up. If one tries to speak to you, will you mind? Yet, who could keep from speaking? You have given moral instruction to many. You have firmed up feeble hands. Your words have supported those who were stumbling, and you have strengthened the weak kneed. But now it comes to you, and you are impatient. At the first touch, you are in shock. Isn't your fear of God your assurance, and the integrity of your ways your hope? Think back. What innocent man has perished? Since when are the upright destroyed? What I see is that those who plow sin and sow trouble reap just that. As a breath from God, they perish. At a blast from his anger, they are consumed. The lion may growl, the king lion may roar, but that old lion's teeth are broken. So the lion succumbs from the lack of prey, and the lion's cubs are scattered. For a word was stealthily brought to me. My ear caught only a whisper of it, in passing thoughts flashing through visions at night. When sleep lies heavy on people, a shiver of horror came over me. It made all my bones tremble. Then a spirit passed in front of my face. The hair of my flesh stood on earth. The hair of my flesh stood on end. It stood still. But I couldn't make out its appearance. Yet from the form stayed before my eyes. Then I heard a subdued voice. Can a human be seen by God as righteous? Can a mortal be pure before his maker? God doesn't trust his own servants. He finds fault even with his angels, much more than those living in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust. They are crushed more easily than a worm, shattered between morning and evening. They perish forever, and no one takes notice. Their cord within them is pulled up. Then they die without ever gaining wisdom. Chapter 5. Call if you like, but will anyone answer? To which of the holy ones will you turn? For anger kills the fool, and envy slays the silly. I watch as a fool establishes roots, but I curse his home with sudden destruction. His children are far from help. Publicity humiliated with no one to rescue. The hungry eat up his harvest, taking it even from among thorns, while the thirsty are panting, eager to swallow his wealth. For misery does not come from the dust, or trouble spring from the ground. No, people are born for trouble, as surely as sparks fly upward. If I were you, I would seek God. I would make a plea to him. For God does great deeds beyond investigation, wonders beyond all reckoning. He gives rain to the earth, pours water down on the fields. He raises the lowly on high and lifts mourners to safety. He frustrates the schemes of the cunning so that they achieve no success, trapping the crafty in their own tricks and foiling quickly the plans of the false. They meet with darkness during the day, groping at noon like at night. But he saves the poor from the sword, their mouth, and from the clutches of the strong. So the poor can hope again, and injustice shuts its mouth. How happy the person whom God corrects. So don't despise Shaddai's discipline, for he wounds, but he bandages the sore. His hands may strike, but they also heal. He will rescue you from 6 disasters. Yes, in 7, no harm will touch you. In famine, he will save you from death, and in war, from the power of the sword. You will be shielded from the lash of the tongue, and you won't have to fear destruction when it comes. You'll be able to laugh at destruction and famine. Also, you won't have to fear wild animals, for you will be in league with the stones of the field, and the wild animals will be at peace with you. You will know that your tent is safe. You will look around your home and miss nothing. You will know that your descendants are many, your offspring like grass growing thick in the fields. You will come to your grave at a ripe old age, like a pile of grain that arrives in season. We've looked into this, and that's how it is. Listen and know that it's for your own good. That's the end of chapter 5. So that was one of his friends that spoke up and was kind of speaking to him. So in chapter 6, Iyov is going to respond to what he says. So we'll get to that tomorrow, his response. Right now, we're going to dive deeper and go into what we just read. Okay? So check me out in the next video of diving deeper, because I really just want this video to be about just reading the word. All right? So dive deeper with me. Let's go. Also, remember to like and subscribe so that we can reach more viewers. And also make sure you hit the notification bell that says all, so that every time a new video drops, you'll be notified, and then you can watch it at your convenience. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.